Representative Fisher, recognized to debate the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen of the House, I know that the temptation will be not to listen to this because it is just a spider bill. However, I want you to know, and also in light of the questions you may ask, you may have lots of questions, just want you to know that the first grade teacher whose class was doing all the research and actually drafted this bill may be listening to the debate. So, with that little forewarning, I will tell you a little bit about this project that ended up in our on our calendar today. There's a first grade class at Isaac Dixon Elementary School who decided that they wanted to wanted the state to adopt a state spider. And they went to the statutes and they looked at the chapter that has to do with state symbols. And this is a first grade class, and they studied all about symbols. And then they taught the fourth graders all about the symbols, the North Carolina symbols. This led to their decision to draft a bill to adopt the golden silk spider as the official state spider of the state of North Carolina. You can read the bill that they drafted. They did all the research. They found out all that they could about the spider. I believe that the name alone, the golden silk spider, is worthy of symbol for North Carolina. So I would encourage your vote yes on this. And if there are any other bills around anywhere in the General Assembly that are asking for another spider to be named the state spider, we know that the House has the best state spider. So please vote green. Thank you.
For what purpose does the lady from Dare, Representative Boswell, rise?
Debate the bill.
Lady has the floor to debate the bill.
Just want you to let you know that I have arachnophobia, but I am going to vote for this bill.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Union, Representative Brody, rise?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could I ask the bill sponsor a question?
Does the lady from Buncombe yield to the gentleman from Durham, gentleman from Union, excuse me?
I yield, and keep in mind the first grade teacher's listening.
Thank you very much. Just out of curiosity, I work a lot outside. If I happen to step on one and squish it, will I get a citation from wildlife?
I don't think so, but be careful nonetheless.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Mecklenburg, Representative Brawley, rise?
I have a question for the bill sponsor.
Does the lady from Buncombe yield to the gentleman from Mecklenburg?
I yield.
She yields.
Representative, would you tell us how to pronounce the scientific name of the spider?
This is a test. And I took Latin, so I'm going to give this a shot. But I think this is more Greek than Latin. Nephila clavipes or Linnaeus.
Well,
The gentleman wishes to ask the gentleman's recognized to debate the bill.
I want to really compliment the educational level of the first graders that prepared this bill, and I was wondering if we were hiring because it seems they're qualified already. Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Cumberland, Representative Floyd, rise?
Mr. Speaker, would the bill sponsor yield for a question?
Does the lady from Buncombe yield to the gentleman from Cumberland?
I yield.
She yields.
Ma'am, this is just a spider bill. Could we do the appropriate thing so we can move through the agenda?
Thank you, Representative Floyd. I hear what you're saying, but it is not just a spider bill. This is a spider bill that was researched and drafted by first graders. The other thing that I would like to let the body in on is that earlier today, the first grade teacher had them listening to the early session because they were told ahead of time that they probably wouldn't hear this one because school would be out by the time we got to this one. They listened to us this morning, and the consensus was that we sound like preachers. Just wanted you to know.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Catawba, Representative Adams, rise?
Debate the bill.
The gentleman has the floor to debate the bill.
Being a native of Concord, North Carolina, and celebrating my 50th reunion, all I can say is go Spiders.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Cabarrus, Representative Pittman, rise?
Speak on the bill.
The gentleman's recognized to debate the bill.
Mr. Speaker, I concur with my colleague, Representative Adams, I represent a good chunk of Concord. Now, Concord High School is actually in Linda Johnson's district, but, I don't care much for spiders, but the only spiders I do like are the Concord High School spiders, and since this spider does resemble their mascot, I guess I'll have to vote for this bill. Oh, and for those children, too, I want to encourage them.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Harnett, Representative Lewis, rise?
May I ask the lady from Buncombe a question?
Does the lady from Buncombe yield to the gentleman from Harnett?
I yield.
She yields.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you, Representative. Representative, I was reading over the bill. I was trying to do a little research, and I direct your attention primarily to lines 11 and 12, where it talks about what the spider eats. I wanted to make sure this wasn't one of the spiders where the female eats the male.
Well, it's funny that you should ask that question, because in fact, this is one of those spiders. I cannot tell a lie.
For what additional purpose the gentleman from Harnett, Representative Lewis, rise?
I'd like to speak on the bill.
The gentleman is recognized to debate the bill.
Mr. Speaker, I'm going to support the bill, but I think for the children that are listening and the children that are sitting in the chamber, we may learn to watch who sponsors the bill, for there may be a hidden meaning in every bill that comes forward. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
For what purpose does the lady from Wilson, Representative Martin, rise?
To debate the bill.
The lady has the floor to debate the bill.
Well, I just didn't want to be left out being a University of Richmond spider and supporting our spiders, but I do not support the eating habits of this particular spider. Thank you.
For what purpose does the gentleman from Gaston, Representative Torbett, rise?
Ask the gentlelady from Buncombe a question, please.
Does the lady from Buncombe yield to the gentleman from Gaston?
I yield.
I've been trying to look it up, Google it while I've been here, but I just can't find, is it actually indigenous to the state of North Carolina?
Yes, it is. You can find it other places in the world, but it is a spider that is common to this area.
Further discussion, further debate? If not, the question for the House is the passage of House Bill 595 on second reading. Those in favor will vote aye. Those opposed will vote no. The clerk will open the vote. Clerk will, like the machine, record the vote. 111 having voted in the affirmative and 8 in the negative. House Bill 595 passes at second reading and will, without objection, be read third time.
Johnson, the North Carolina next.
Question for the House is the passage of House Bill 595 on third reading. Those in favor will say aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. House Bill 595, having passed third reading, will be sent to the Senate. Members, if I can have your attention, please. Bill filing today actually ended at 3 o'clock. The chair has received a request, I believe, from staff to extend that